born as the son of a teacher. My father was teaching in the school in Regensburg. I had two brothers. I was the oldest. I went 4 years to school, then I visited gymnasium. This I finished in Vienna. I studied economics, and after the first 4 semesters I started to work besides studying for the insurance company. This was my first working place was Nordstern Insurance, which was at this time quite strong from the market share in Burgenland, and I could manage to make quite good results in life insurance and in accident insurance, and due to this success I was in quite short time responsible for life insurance in Burgenland, and I was also training people, and Nordstern decided to send me to St. Gallen in Switzerland. This was at this time the Center for Education in Insurance Business. Something similar at this time in Austria was not existing. We had an university for economics, but not really for education, and not especially not for insurance. And practically later I made the first really education plan for agents in Austria, because up to this time the agents were trained wherever they have been. Some in Tyrol, some in Salzburg, some in Carinthia, as they were coming, and there was not one unified education plan. This was one of my first tasks, and I continued later to become the head manager of Vienna. After Vienna, Niederösterreich, so that's the biggest country around Vienna. And this was the first thing that I was in personal union head for in St. Pölten for Niederösterreich and Vienna, and due to this we made the first region, and Austria was not divided as it is up till now in 9 countries, you know, Burgenland, Steyr, Orsak, Carinthia, Salzburg. So we made 5 regions in Austria, and this was quite successful at this time. And still personal force or strength was to work in life insurance at this time. And 1995, 96, at this time we had a merger with Colonia Insurance, and Colonia and Nordstern merged, and the Germans at the same time Germany had founded 89 an insurance company, Colonia Biztosító in Hungary. But the first years were not, they were very strong in motor insurance, but financially not very successful. And 95, with about 1 billion foreign loss, they were thinking to pass it over to the Austrian company. They were thinking Austria is much closer, maybe better understanding also the needs and lifestyle in Hungary, and Cologne was quite far away. So they passed it forward, and in 96 practically was my first task to come here, but I was just 3 days in a week here. But already 96 we could make a turnaround and made a black zero in Hungary, and from this time practically profit. 97, 98, I was responsible for the sales. I became board member in the company, 97. A colleague of mine who was already presenting here his point of views to the Hungarian market, Gyurgo Otto, was the head of the company, CEO, the vezérigazgató, and we worked many years very successful together. In the meantime, the company had later emerged with AXA and Colonia and Nordstern became a member of the AXA group. There was a small step with another French insurance in between, but finally we were members of the AXA group. We started to extend on the Hungarian market. At the same time, we had, when I came here, we had about 160 agents, I think. At the end, when I left, we had over 1,000 agents. And of course, this was the time where broker channels were very important, where the own sales force was very important. Today we have changes and internet and online business was coming up, but this was really the time of sales force and sales channels and recruiting. Doborozny was the main task and educate and to train people. And there were some companies on the market which showed this very successful, like ING, for example. And we could catch up. At this time, we had about the same market share like Signal, for example, 2.8 or close to 3%. And but we were very fast growing and could extend our market share soon to close to 8%. And even in Casco Insurance, we had a market share of 15%, so we were about as strong as Allianz in Casco Insurance and motor on the market. It was an interesting time because the 90s, some say the golden times, yes and no, because the inflation rate was very high. We had inflation rates with 27, 28%, so if you went for dinner in the evening, it was better to pay before dinner because it was more expensive after dinner. But we managed to sell life insurance even in this market. We could also watch that the Latin American companies made also insurance, life insurance. Yes, it was interesting because we could combine life insurance with credits from banks. There were banks like today, the UniCredit at this time, or Bank Austria, which were the first one which stepped in the market, and we could manage to make for credits for real estate, for building houses, and combine it with life insurance, and so that the life insurance was covering finally the debts of a certain time. They were quite good construction. This was making the business quite successful. And not every insurance company was dealing with such projects. But in our case, the insurance company and the broker channels together were very successful working. And we could also raise our market shares at this time in life insurance. The life in the nights, which is very often called golden times, due to the reason that 2000 that we have been in an emerging market. Everything was growing. The numbers we made were doubling every year, and quite different from today. And I was at this time quite often moving between Vienna and Budapest. So I made about 80,000 kilometers a year, and even if the distance is now not such long, but we had a border, and it was not easy in the 90s on the border. Even with a special passport, you had to line up, and sometimes you spent several hours on the border, which for a certain time we did not know, but we learned to know about it today again. But due to political reasons and the movement in Europe. And it's to say that these times were very interesting for insurance business. I was in Vienna finally in the supervisory board, and 2003 I went as a CEO to Hungary, and from this time till 2016 I was working for the company in Budapest. For example, Germans tried is to copy their working style and their working methods and their working from Germany in Hungary. And we figured out that we have to change, to make change, to adapt our plans, our style, our products to the Hungarian market. It's not like to import a car from Stuttgart and to put it on the Hungarian market. So we had to develop our own products, and this we did quite successful. And the people, Hungarian, our agents were very much believing in our products. And finally, we could manage several 100,000 clients. I think it was close to 780,000 clients already at this time, which was quite an successful number. In Hungary, we could manage this quite well. I could see a lot of loyalty also, and a lot of enthusiasm working for the company, and being proud working for a company. And I think this is it was a good mixture for an quite successful story. My first semesters on the university, I could manage to make in the first year. I had to do 11 exams, and I could make them already. I had 4 semesters, so 2 years time for it. But through to luck, I could manage it in the first year to make all 11s, and so I had time for my first bigger examination. And for this first big exam, I decided to work something beside. I did several smaller jobs before. I was always working during studying, but I got the chance to work in with this insurance field, and I started to work there in sales, and this was quite good going, and I found it also very, very interesting. So I'm till today very much interested in insurance, in the development of products. So I fell in love with the insurance business. I would say this was how I came in, and I started to work in the insurance 1973, and if you take the year 2016, I was born 1950, so I should retire with 63.5 or 64 due to the Austrian law. And I did another 3 years till 67, and so why I did not continue, I think because 45 years in insurance and the company was enough, and I think also due to my age, there is a new generation in the company, also in UNIQA, which is quite good performing. They are very young team. They deal with challenges like now with internet and trains. They have a good performance. They have also the situation that the premiums on the market are slightly moving up, or within the last years. In casco insurance, sure, more than 35 or 40% premium were raising, and also in liability insurance. This is helping the market because there was a very intensive problem between the average premium, the frequency of claims, and the average of claims, because the claims were, the average costs of the claims were for a certain time growing due to working hours, also because mechanic and painting for a car was becoming more expensive. Also the parts for cars were becoming more expensive. So if the insurance premium would not go up, the claims would had a very negative impact of the stock. The market was good reacting now, and I think the insurance companies have enough premiums to cover the claims, which is for the client also very, very important fact. And me myself, I think I left just in time, after a very long time in the insurance business. But I think the team which UNIQA, the young team which UNIQA has now, is the right answer for the challenges on the market in the current situation. And I'm very pleased with these jobs which are doing now on the market. I'm the president of this Austro-Hungarian Business Council, where practically all of the big Austrian companies, also all the banks included. There are several, there's OMV, Laya, so there are really all the big companies. And there's also the networking between permissions and possibilities in economic, from economic point of view in the market, and politics, very, very important. As I told you, Austria is the second biggest merchandising partner of Hungary. And so this is a challenge on one side. I am president of the advisory board of the Testnevelési Egyetem, so I'm also with a board of directors there, which are also from the market, like people from Adidas or SAP, just to name a few companies. And I have an own advertising and an own company here on the market, B2B. So I'm working in several fields, mainly for the Kamara, so for the Austro-Hungarian Business Council. And just to give also example, because I mentioned the banks, but there are not only Raiffeisen, Erste, these are Austrian banks, partly Bank Austria, now UniCredit, reporting to Italy, but we have Spar, for example, with over 13,000 employees in Hungary on the market. So we have quite big players also which are really significant Austrian companies on the market. They have different needs. We have regular meetings. We have also consulting in this area. So that's what I'm. So I have a 12 hours business day today, and in a different way now as I did before. But I like to do this very much, and I will also do this the upcoming years.